I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm thankful that I'm not.
Oh, you just can't help yourself, can you, huh?
I don't help anyone.
Huh.
Unless they've got the cash.
Yeah, I'm going to help you out the door if you don't stop.
If you can fit
anyway,
through
folks,
it.
Hey, I'm going to knock you out.
Excuse me, but, is anyone going to introduce me, bro?
All right. And this is Vince Russo.
I thought it was the mailman.
Huh. Why don't you be serious?
Smells like one.
Well, what the frig, bro?
All right, enough. Folks, coming up in just a short is a podcast hosted by two guys you've never heard of and probably never will.
Monsoon knows a guy who knows a guy, if you know what I'm saying.
I get it.
Oh, will you stop? Folks, Chris and George or something, they do the Hot Tag Podcast, and here it is.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Tag Wrestling Show. I'm Christy Francesco, joined by George Rogers on this wonderful, beautiful, cold Saturday, April 5th. And we got some fun things to talk about tonight. We're going to be covering a Wrestlemania. George, it's crazy on April 5th. We haven't had WrestleMania yet.
Yeah, I know.
I'm seeing all these anniversaries popping up for Mania, and I'm thinking, where's this one at? We still got 2 more weeks, and it's like, all right. I'm assuming, next year I read it might be closer to May, so it's just like, dear Lord,
if you're going to do that, then put the Rumble in February.
Exactly, right? I mean, because we've clearly seen that it takes a long time to build interesting storylines heading into WrestleMania this year. Man, you're gonna give them a whole extra month. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, you add a pay-per-view or you do something, but this whole waiting a whole extra month for WrestleMania is for the birds, man. I'm not all about waiting all this.
Yeah, no, it feels like forever.
Yeah, I know. When was Mania last year? WrestleMania.
Wasn't it around this time last year?
Yeah, I think it was actually this day. Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
April 6th, 2024. So, already, we're just pushing it out 2 weeks. But, all right. So, because we have a lot to cover tonight, just by the way, in case you guys don't know, I'm going to put it up on the screen for you right now. We are covering Raw from an unopposed Monday Night Raw from March 4th, 1996. And as a bonus for y'all, we decided to cover WrestleMania 12, which for most of you, 99% of wrestling fans know this show best for the boyhood dream coming true for the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels defeating Bret the Hitman Hart in a 60-minute Iron Man match, the first of its kind for WrestleMania. So we are going to cover both of them. I know, before anyone wants to send me a DM or let me know that, throw some heat my way, WrestleMania is 3 weeks after that's Raw. I wanted to do something special for all of you. Send your hate tweets to @DarkKnight325 on Twitter. And that's George. That's not me.
Yeah, please fucking do.
So I just figured, all right, we don't cover pay-per-views that often anymore. Although it's something we might start throwing in there now because we do all the build-ups with the Monday Night Wars. We should probably mix in some pay-per-views here so people can see the payoffs before we go into, the next set of prep work for the following pay-per-view. But we figured, let's give them something special. Let's do WrestleMania 12. I wanted to maybe do uncensored because this happens before WrestleMania 12, but we've already covered our WCW pay-per-view in recent weeks. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's only fair. We're doing the Monday Night Wars. Let's do WrestleMania because it is WrestleMania season. So before we do that, I'm going to talk just real quickly on current stuff because, like I said, we have a lot to talk about tonight, and I really, don't want to be here for 2 hours. We finally got the John Cena promo, George, that, I know I've been begging for, but a lot of wrestling fans, shockingly, actually have been agreeing with me, which never happens. Never happens. But that was what I wanted to see. And you and I talked about this, and you brought up a great point when you and I spoke about it on the phone. I think John Cena's at his best when he has an opposition in his face to combat with. And we've seen that in recent history with him against Roman, and then way back in the Wayback Machine, his rivalry with The Rock. What was your thoughts on the Cena Cody Rhodes promo? That the dirt sheets have been trying to tell us all that, WWE is protecting Cody. Not this past week, they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the Cena promo that we wanted. This is what I wanted. I wanted something scathing. I wanted the passion. That's what feels lacking. There's no emotion. These guys are together and I'm not really getting anything, but this is the promo where I'm like, all right, this feels like it's high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Cena, hit him with the, I build empires for billionaires. All you do is steal money from their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was talking to somebody at work. He's like, oh, was that like a shot at Triple H? I'm like, no, that was a shot at Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shaw was the billionaire. And then Cody hitting back with the crowd never chanted, you can't wrestle at me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, you're just hitting every note.
Mm-hmm.
It has a big match feel, big match Johnny.
I agree. And I thought it was terrific. I thought I actually appreciated Cena kind of doing the whole, middle finger to dirt sheets that make shit up, where, even Cena's like, you've been protected all this time. They're protecting you. And I appreciate those subtle shots because it makes the Dave Meltzer, little clowns of the world, realize like, look, they're paying attention to your bullshit and they're going to expose it on live television. They're going to expose you all for the frauds that you are. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my favorite thing about WWE. And, I'll rip WWE when they deserve it. But what I do like about them is they pay attention to the BS that gets thrown out to people online, and they'll use it on air and make, these dirt sheet scum look awful. I mean, because they're not real journalists. They're not even real reporters. I mean, there's somebody that's like you and I that can sit behind a computer and type up anything I want, and somehow they have found a way to have people pay for that. They're smart. Everyone else that pays for it, let's just say their brains are quite smooth. But that's the problem with the wrestling business, is the fact that so much fake trash gets thrown out there, and it's written as fact, which is my biggest issue with idiots like Dave Meltzer, is that it's written as fact and it's out there in the multiverse for people to suck in. And 98% of the time, the dude's flat out wrong, as is Sean Ross Sapp, Brian Alvarez, the failed wrestler. So, all of these guys, and the reason why, they're so bitter, and, I go back now and I read archives of things when we covered WCW, and Dave Meltzer had such a hard on for hating Hulk Hogan for so many years. And like, it just popped to my head. And I'm like, of course he probably hated Hogan, because Hogan never answered his phone calls to give him the scoops on anything. So he's just going to bash, the biggest draw in the history of the business every time he does anything. And that's how I feel about dirt sheets, is they act like they love the wrestling business so much, yet they have built a false career on trying to destroy it. Like, the whole point of wrestling is like when I'm watching Seinfeld. I know it's not real. I get it. Thank you. This is not the 6 o'clock news. I understand. Don't need to know how it's done. I don't need to know of what the spoilers of future episodes. You know what I mean? Like, how does that help me? Oh, well, we're here to provide great insight on Seinfeld's next 5 episodes. Here's the spoilers. Why are you trying to do this? And I'll never understand, George, why dirt sheet writers have so much credibility within certain circles because you're intentionally trying to destroy what pro wrestling is all about, and that's the suspension of disbelief. It's a soap opera. It's weekly storylines. It's ridiculous how they could just make these things up and people go, this is real.
Imagine, right? It's like right after the Pirates of the Caribbean came out and they're filming the second one. If somebody leaked out, oh, Jeffrey Rush was spotted on set like as Barbosa, that would spoil like the end of Dead Man's Chest.
Correct.
So it's like, and it would take you out of it. But that's all like these guys do is they just spoil shit to get clicks and get numbers. And I'm going to sell my newsletter and you're going to subscribe. It's like unreal. And then people will either like not watch or they'll watch. And they're like, yeah, well, you know, whatever. Yeah, we knew it was going to win. Like it pulls the interest out of it. Like if every time you watch the show, you knew what was going to happen at the end because someone's talking about it online, it kind of pulls you out of the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
And we only do this shit with wrestling. That's the only thing that they have to like go out and spoil. It seems like it's always under attack in that way. Yeah.
I can't stand it. I just hate when I read reports and it's just like you like and it's clear anyone who's watched wrestling for a modicum of time can just look at these reports that ever come out, and it's like, how does this even make it to someone's face and that they actually believe these things? It's insanity to me. All right, so let's cover Raw from March 4th, 1996, and then we're going to go right into WrestleMania 12. I know there's going to be a couple weeks in there of Raw that we're not going to talk about, but it really has no bearing on reviewing WrestleMania 12.
We pretty much already know what the matches are going to be going into it at this point.
Yep. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw, March 4th, 1996. Originally, obviously, way back when, Nitro was, of course, preempted for the Civil War, which is a documentary and, not the real thing that preempts wrestling shows in 2021. So at this time, Raw is flying solo, which was rare in this era. So let's kind of talk about it here. We are, and of course, WWE is taped from Cincinnati, Ohio. Jerry the King Lawler and Vince McMahon are your hosts. And we open up with a banger that we promoted last week. Shawn Michaels versus the 1-2-3 Kid. George, what was your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was a damn good opening match. Like, both of these guys work so well together. It's almost insane when you think about it. This is probably the last time these guys are having a match together. Like when you think about it, because Waltman's going to be out of the WWF, in a few months, and by the time he comes back, Michaels isn't wrestling anymore. So they don't ever really share the ring again after this. And it's a shame that we didn't get like a series or something in like 94 and 95 between these guys.
Yeah. This was a great match, I thought, man. If we're gonna do star ratings, I'd probably put this for a Raw match. 3.5 to 4 stars. Mm-hmm. These are the kind of matches where you can really see, one, that HBK can work any style with anyone at any time, any era. But it also showed you that if there was a really good guy on the other side of the ring, Sean Waltman, X-Pac, 1-2-3 Kid, 6. Dude, the dude could flat out go. And, the fact that he's basically like 12 years old here, there was a lot of time. Pre-WCW, I was a big fan of Sean Waltman's work. What about you?
Oh, I always loved the 1-2-3 Kid. Mm-hmm. My sister had a crush on him because, of course, she did.
That's funny. Man, but he looks so young. He just, it's ridiculous.
It's funny is when he went over to WCW, I hadn't really been watching WCW at the time, but people were like, oh, this guy's 6. I'm sort of looking, I don't know who this guy is. And then somebody at school was like, "Oh, he used to be the 1-2-3 kid," and I didn't recognize him because it was like he went with WCW and immediately grew scumbag facial hair.
Let me ask you. You probably know because I guess I never really looked it up. Was he named 6 in WCW because 1-2-3 equals 6?
Yeah,
I figured. Okay.
I think I think so, but I think it was also because he was the 6th person to join the NWO at that point.
Okay, I see.
But I think it was supposed to be like 1-2-3 6. So
okay, that's what I always thought it was for some reason. But yeah, a great match, man. Like for those of you who want to watch this show, if you can find it, this is a really good match to watch. So for the first time in, gosh, since we've definitely been covering this, Raw opens up with a really, really hot opening here. Just a great way to start the show with HBK, who, of course, we know is going to become the number one guy at the end of the month, which we're going to talk about. So it was good stuff. Next, we have here on Raw, Piper's Pit with Goldust. As he and Marlena take over, the old set, and this feud is getting, increasingly weird. Not just because of the initial challenge was thrown down by Razor 2 weeks ago, but
it's money, man.
It is. And now they're crafting a Goldust Piper feud literally out of nothing via, pre-taped bits and, just random interviews. Your thoughts on this?
I will say this though, for a feud that they're basically cobbled together from the pieces of Goldust and Razor, like this made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In terms of Goldust is a character that's basically like based in Hollywood and loves movies, and here's Roddy Piper, who at this point is like an acclaimed movie star,
big time. Yeah.
So and this is also one of the first instances where you have like a wrestler who went and became an actor and then came back to wrestling while still being able to kind of do both. So Piper is relevant in the two areas of just being a movie star and a wrestling star. Mm-hmm. So just with that there, it's like, wow, like they cobbled this together and it fell perfectly. I agree. Like dropping a piece of toast and it lands jelly side up. Like you didn't ruin it. Yeah.
We get a spectacular vignette that tells us that the Ultimate Warrior will return at WrestleMania. Next match is Hakushi versus Justin Hulk Bradshaw. And here's another notable, Raw debut for a guy, you wouldn't have suspected that was going to be around still here in 2025. Mr. Bradshaw making his Raw debut here. Bradshaw, pounded away here in the beginning. He no-sells Hakushi's comeback. By the way, just let everybody know, like not long ago, Hakushi was in a top program with Bret the Hitman Hart. Let's just not forget that here. So, the clothesline from hell, which it wasn't called that at the time, obviously just a lariat, because at this time, Justin Hulk Bradshaw, for those of you who don't know, was basically trying to be America's version of Stan Hansen, which, makes sense. Like, their styles were the same. Yeah. Bradshaw is all of like 6'6", 6'7". He's a massive man. But yeah, man, not a bad debut here for Bradshaw. What was your thoughts on old JBL?
Yeah, he came out. I'm sorry, I forgot he had the long blonde hair. Mm-hmm. Then he was coming out there with a good old dirty Dutch Mantel, which was the Uncle Zebekiah or some sort of bullshit at that point. And it's just it's insane to look at now. It's like this dude has always wrestled this stiff, just lay it in style.
Yeah,
And this, interestingly enough, this was Bradshaw's debut, but this is also Hakushi's last Raw.
Oh, I didn't know that. Holy cow. All right. This guy was just feuding with Bret the Hitman.
He was just feuding with Bret Hart.
And you're gone. That's hilarious.
He was in the Raw Bowl. Like
I mean, speaking, of, future stars, Mankind is here with another vignette. He wants us all to have a nice day, even though it definitely appears that he's not having one himself.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Next match is another really good one, I think. Bret Hart versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I still think this is really good, man. Like, I'm not gonna mess with this one up at all. At this time, Bret doesn't hate Triple H. Personally, I think that comes a little bit later as we get into 97. But of course, Hunter gets, a sharpshooter put on him. He submits almost 12 and a half minutes. It was pretty good. I felt maybe it was a good idea for maybe Hunter to go into WrestleMania undefeated against the Ultimate Warrior. But, I mean, I guess might as well lose in a legitimate match against Bret before being utterly squashed by the returning Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania. What was your thoughts on this match? So far, man, Raw is the best Raw we've covered to date.
I mean, Bret, kudos to Bret. I'm not that Triple H needs it, but Bret made him look like $1 million. Like, think about what like a real main event feud down the line with these guys really could have been.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. Like Triple H in 96 was still just that fucking good.
Man.
And he's still got like another 20 years to go on this one. So it's.
And I'll tell you what, and I'm starting to, and you and I have talked about this, and anyone who has followed me in this wrestling podcast journey the last 5 or so years, I mean, even dating back, 10, 12 years ago, knows I used to have a massive, real disdain for Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm just going to say this now in 2025. I mean, he's probably in my top 3 of favorite wrestlers of all time. And, it's one of those things where for all those years that people like you, me, Dean used to just boo the hell out of John Cena and hate his existence on TV. I felt the same way about Roman Reigns forever. But, you take a step back and all these years pass and it's like, man, I really wish I would have appreciated Bret Hart growing up and all these years later, because I'm telling you right now, man, in the ring, in ring ability only, I'm not taking it from an overall perspective. Dear God, man, the presentation of Bret Hart and then his ability in the ring with absolutely any opponent, the dude was just untouchable. He was just incredible.
I feel like this episode of Raw was designed to show how good each of those guys were, how good Shawn was, and how good Bret was, to give these people a preview of what to expect going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, agreed.
And you figure if you're gonna have the guys look the best, you're gonna put them with people that they're gonna work the best with, like the Kid and Bret or Triple H.
Yeah, So we get to the end of Raw here, and it's TV trivia with Billionaire Ted. This is actually another, I think, really good one. We're back to the mean.
It was dirty.
It really was
dirty.
We're back to the mean-spirited Ted Turner as they take out of context quotes from him and make them sound like a racist. This does not have a home run gag to me, but however, as they question, where the huckster is, and we cut him in an abandoned and we cut to him in an abandoned arena, still handcuffed from that episode of Nitro. That is gold. I mean, it is so good. It was just great.
I helped her handcuff me, and they left me here.
Dude, I mean, when I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, that's 2. I hate the Billionaire Ted skits overall, but the last 2 were gold. Just really good stuff. Much better show this week, George. I mean, to say the least. 2 incredible matches. The historic, from context, a historic debut from JBL, and a really good Billionaire Ted skit at the end. Piper's Pit. Can we safely say that since we've been doing this is the best Raw?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. This is the best overall episode of Raw that we've done. And like I said, like it was kind of, I don't want to say genius, but kind of smart for Vince to put this episode of Raw on completely unopposed. Because if you got people who still want to watch wrestling on Mondays, and they can't watch Nitro, they'll go and watch the other show.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
it's a given because now you're letting that other audience know what you have to offer. I mean, we know history-wise they're not going to do this ever again, but it gets eyes on the product and maybe they get invested.
I agree. Let me look at what the ratings were for this. The ratings for the show. What are we at? 2.5. No, I'm sorry. 3.4. 3.6.
Oh, all right.
For Monday Night Raw, and Monday Night Raw would not see another thing over 3 until almost a full month and a week later.
Wow.
So yeah, they go unopposed again on April 8th, where Raw pulls a 4.7. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that Raw is. So yeah. All right, that's Monday Night Raw. We've already just said it, and I think we should put like make a quote of this or a clip, and I'll put it up on YouTube. This since September of 1995. That we started the Monday Night Wars recaps here. This is by far, and I mean far and away. I'm not sure even if there was a Nitro, it wouldn't have been able to touch this Monday Night Raw. No. This has been the best Raw that we've been covering, that we've covered since the start of this whole program. So kudos to Vince and the company in that era.
And if there was a Nitro this week, chances are it would have been what we're going to get on the next week's Nitro, as I already know what that main event is, and yeah.
It's something, all right. But all right, now here we go. The show of shows, the showcase of the Immortals, the granddaddy of them all. All of these things I'm saying, Vince didn't want to say for like the last 10 years that he was around because he's a jerk off. But nonetheless, this is the Babe Ruth of wrestling, the biggest show on earth.
The grandest stage.
Yeah, that's right. The grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania 12. WrestleMania 12 did not particularly have a high bar to clear when it comes to how terrible WrestleMania 11 was. And that's partly thanks to the WWF, as of this moment, having this injection, as it were, of fresh talent. Triple H, Goldust, Stone Cold, Vader, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Bret and Shawn aren't fresh talent, but they're getting to be main event. Yeah, they're not 42, 43, 45 years old. They're superstars. And all of those names before I just said, Shawn and Bret, they're featured on this card, one of which is featured in the most disrespectful of ways. One guy is, dead. The other guy runs the wrestling world. But nonetheless, we are here for WrestleMania 12. The WWF at this time also has a massive main event match that appealed to their mega, the tippy top of their fan base. 2 top baby faces and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels going at it in a 60-minute Iron Man match. The show didn't end up being a complete success to me, but there's some really great stuff here that, of course, we're going to talk about. Of course, calling the action is Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler. I'm trying to think. This was the second to last WrestleMania for Vince McMahon, correct? Calling the matches. He called 13, right?
He called 13. Yeah, he didn't call 14.
Did not. Yeah, he definitely did not call 14. No. So yeah, we've only got one more Mania after this one of Vince McMahon behind the booth. So interesting. Did you? Were you surprised that we did not get the usual Star Spangled Banner, God Bless America? We just went right into a 60-minute Iron Man match promo. What did you think?
I was kind of, when we look back on it now, you're like, that's odd. Like it doesn't, it feels out of place.
Did Vince like hate America at this time?
I guess.
Did America sneeze at a meeting?
Definitely.
Right. Opening match here. If the babyface trio wins, then Yoko gets 5 minutes with Jim Cornette in any way that he sees fit. So God bless Jim Cornette. Camp Cornette, which is British Bulldog Owen Hart and Vader, versus Jake the Snake Roberts, Ahmed Johnson, who I just saw on YouTube. By the way, I'm going off this. I did not remember this because I did not watch WCW in 2000, the new Harlem Heat. And Ahmed Johnson was there, and boy, was he fat. He looked terrible. Not that he ever looked great, but holy moly. I did not remember post WWF Ahmed Johnson, and I'm happy that I didn't really give it a chance to figure it out. I just saw him coming down the aisle.
When he popped up as Big T, I didn't even recognize him. I didn't even know who he was at first.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my friends was like, that's Ahmed Johnson, right? I was like, what?
Like, I know.
What happened?
And I'll say this: what happened? Food.
Yeah.
So I will say this though, and it always happened with Ahmed in the WWF, George, and I'm sure you don't understand it. I sure as shit don't understand it. Ahmed comes into the ring during, later on in this match. He's sloppy, of course, but he's got great energy. Dude, the crowd is so into this guy.
Yeah. Where's this been on Raw? Because
no, we get Hakushi.
Yeah, and no one's been cheering him. So
Ahmed takes a couple drop kicks though from Owen Hart, who cuts it off. My memory of this match, I've watched WrestleMania 12 a ton because it's the one, I remember watching it live in my aunt and my mom's basement in Northeast Philadelphia. I remember this because I watched the pay-per-view. My parents allowed me to stay home from school on that Monday. So I vividly remember everything about this. I was, 1996. I was 11, turning 12 that year. So I vividly remember where I was for the show and the fact that I've watched WrestleMania 12, at least 50 times. At least. So my memory of this match was that it was quite dull, but from an action perspective, it's got some pretty fun stuff, and the crowd is really hot at this point for the opener of the pay-per-view. By the way, they're in the Anaheim Pond in Anaheim, California. George, what was your thoughts on this opener? Because the team Camp Cornette gets the win. It got 2 stars in the Observer, which means I'm automatically going to give it 2.2 stars. So I don't agree with the Observer, but I thought this was better than 2 stars. How about you?
Yeah, a little better than 2 stars. It was good. Crowd was hot, especially for Jake.
Big time. Big contingent of Jake fans.
They wanted that DDT, man.
They did, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought because the babyface is not winning, probably, gave it a pretty flat finish. As usually when you do the 5-minute the 5-minute stipulation stuff or any kind of stipulation, the babyfaces win. So that gives the fans the fun of seeing, the manager like Cornette at that era just get destroyed. But, if you're going to tease that stipulation, in my opinion, that you should probably deliver on that. I thought the match itself was fine. It probably went on a little bit too long. But, Vader and Yoko would have had their big pay-per-view singles match in May where Vader, would beat Yoko to take his place as that premier big man. We're not there yet. Jake would end up in that terrible feud with Jerry Lawler over the summer. But, Bulldog gets a brief run with Shawn Michaels over King of the Ring season. Ahmed would go on to win the IC title and then just start getting hurt every week. But do you agree though? If you're going to tease a stipulation of Jim Cornette, it can get destroyed. You should probably deliver on that for WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, you probably should, but also I fully expect Cornette to do some shady shit to make sure his team wins. Also,
For sure. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. We get a video package to hype up the next match. Interestingly, they get Michael Cole to record the voiceover for it, even though I think it was originally Todd Pettengill that did it. I'm guessing this is why I'm guessing we heard Michael Cole. I'm guessing the music they used meant that they had to redub it. I'm
Maybe.
assuming, right? Because Vince doesn't like to pay anybody anything. We get to match 2, and this is stunning. It's match 2, if you want to call it a match. We get the Hollywood Backlot Brawl for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Goldust versus Rowdy Roddy Piper. I mean, the winner is, I guess we'll find out at some point. It's 2025, and we're still waiting for the winner of this match. But
I mean, it's not for the Intercontinental title, though.
Oh, I thought it was. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. So this was a backlot brawl. They're brawling in a parking lot. You know, what was your thoughts on it? They didn't have enough time to really build the storyline, but damn, I think they made it as interesting as they possibly could.
Why the fuck was Piper spraying a fire hose?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He's like, they're like, oh, he's got the hose. It's like, oh, he said he was going to spray the ground. It looked like they were just slipping around when they were missing, when they were fighting out there too. But.
Yeah, I mean, we get to a point where, Piper legitimately breaks his hand over legitimately punching Goldust in the head. What was your thoughts on this movie magic that, gosh, it takes film studios 6 months to do, stunts or like a scene like this. WWF does a lot of it in one take. What was your thoughts on that?
I look back on it now, and I just kind of look back on it with fondness.
Yeah, me too.
It's like it's like, yeah, like this was crap, but this was like fun crap.
Absolutely. To me, it's like this. To me, was the WWF's version of their hardcore in 1996. I liked it a lot. I thought it was short, which I would have liked a little bit more time on it. But it had really good intensity, and again, I think this was WWF's version of hardcore in 1996. And look, anything with Piper, it's going to be interesting. And kudos to Goldust, man. I mean,
if you're going to do a match of that, you got like probably 2 of the best guys to be in that match.
I agree.
Piper and Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah. What was your favorite part, the gold Cadillac or the white Bronco?
How do you even pick? First off, that solid gold Cadillac is something straight out of like a villain would have on BTOS.
I feel like that's something I would have seen like Dick Tracy have.
It's like a car that like an American version of Goldfinger would have.
Goldfinger and then BTOS. I think that's right. I think you're right on there. That's a great one. All right, so we got Savio Vega, who's backstage with Bad Street USA, where he cuts up a fired-up promo to hype up the next match. Man, this was not a bad Savio promo.
Love Savio.
Yeah, I'm a big Savio guy.
What a fucking legend.
We get to match 3 here, and it's the $1 Million Champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Savio Vega. Dude, I mean, if it wasn't for the Iron Man match, could we possibly say this was the best match on the card?
Yeah, until it fucking wasn't.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, there was a point where I'm like, all right.
Like I said, it's like this had all the makings of being like a 4.5 to 5-star match until the ending, and then it dropped it down to a 2.
I agree, man. It was really that ending. I'm thinking to myself, man, you could have booked any other ending, and that would have worked.
The thing is, like, it would have worked better if Hebner didn't oversell being knocked out.
Agreed. I mean, the guy was dead.
Yeah, it's like dude, just get, like literally just get up. It's like, it almost felt like DiBiase was getting legitimately pissed at him.
Yeah, I think you're right. You could just tell. I'm sure if you're in DiBiase's head, it's like, what is this shit? When can I go to the NWO?
When can I go to the NWO so I can then be kicked out for Eric Bischoff?
So funny. But again, I thought it was a really good back and forth. The match ends up becoming kind of like a backdrop to Piper ranting on the phone, which doesn't help with making this match seem like it's important at all. So WWF doesn't do itself any favors there. It does make you feel like you're watching a match on what did they have back then? Superstars or something like that. But, again, Piper just keeps coming on the line. He continues to do some ranting. We also have some footage of Piper driving driving the truck here with it deliberately being shot as a way to parody, I guess, O.J. Simpson being on the run from the cops. Because by the time of April 96, that was, hardly a timely reference.
Yeah, like we're a little beyond that. Like OJ was just found, like OJ was just found innocent a few months prior.
Yeah.
And it was like his way of just like, I'm angry with the results of the election, or with the trial, so I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah, I think it's Vince is always a couple months late outside of the WWF bubble, so it took him. Well, this is relevant, sir. No, it's not fired. So again, it takes away from what was a really, like we talked about, a really solid undercard match. But I just feel like all the brouhaha around it with Piper, the finish was terrible. And you're right. It took away from something that started off really, really well. So yeah. So let's get to the next thing here. Obviously, we had more nonsense with Piper and his van. Mr. Perfect is backstage now with Diesel for a promo ahead of his match against The Undertaker. Diesel's cutting a pretty calm promo here where he says he'll take out The Undertaker tonight, and then Shawn Michaels later once Shawn wins the WWF title.
I feel like he spoiled the fact that Shawn was going to win.
Absolutely. No doubt in my mind.
He's like, I'll deal with Taker tonight. And then Shawn Michaels later. It's like, well, why him? Fucking.
Sorry, I'm talking to someone who's on an airplane right now. All right, so match 4, if you even want to call this a match. Hunter Hearst Helmsley with Sable, because that's something, versus the Ultimate Warrior. Man, Warrior returning at this time was definitely Vince McMahon desperately rolling the dice in the face of WCW, who's starting to nip at the heels, with Nitro. This was actually supposed to be a relatively competitive match so that Triple H could possibly gain something from it. But, Warrior instead thought he'd look better in a quick squash. So that's what we get. In honesty, he was probably right. And I think it's because it would have, if this match goes longer than 5 minutes, Warrior's going to be the one exposed. And McMahon is trying to bring him back to kind of regain that aura that he had in the late 80s. So, in my opinion, don't even book him in a match. Book him to just come out and do a promo and get the crowd on your feet instead of burying one of your young studs. That's kind of like how I feel.
It's going to get worse for Triple H this year, so
that's a lot worse. And actually, we're thankful that it gets worse because we get Austin 316 out of it. Yeah. One funny thing from this match, though, is Jerry Lawler, legit cracking Vince McMahon on commentary at one point by saying that he's going to impress Sable by showing her his Congressional Medal of Honor. That is a good gag, in all fairness. Lawler also reveals that his sources revealed that Warrior was 400 pounds and bald, only for Warrior to run out ripped with a full head of hair. So I do like that Lawler was perfectly happy with like looking like an absolute goon and being a total BS heel commentator during this match.
He should have been what they should have said was like, "Oh, your sources are wrong." It's like, "That's not my fault. I read the Observer."
Let me ask you, and I've never been a Warrior guy ever in my life, and I think the man personally was a piece of garbage. It doesn't, he's dead. I know he can't defend himself, but everything tells me that he was a scumbag. Mm-hmm. However, tell me that you didn't always want one of those long, decked out Warrior trench coats.
I mean, those coats are pretty sick.
They really are. Yeah.
Hell yeah, I did.
Yeah. I would have loved a Warrior trench coat. Okay. So what did I just get here?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. Todd Pettengill welcomes Mark Mero to the WWF.
Johnny B. Bad.
Johnny B. Bad's here, ladies and gentlemen.
He's back. We didn't even know he got fired from WCW.
I know. Mero cuts a pretty terrible promo and gets interrupted by Triple H coming in and yelling at Sable, acting like the loss was her fault. Mero, of course, comes to his then real-life Sable Lesnar's rescue after and there's a new feud between the two, but that was really funny when Triple H comes in and starts blaming Sable for losing to Warrior. We get a little cutback here. Roddy Piper is on his way back to the arena. But then we get to the semi-main event here. Big Daddy Cool Diesel versus The Undertaker. This match, obviously, we've been talking about this build up for a while now. This comes because Diesel cost Undertaker the WWF title back in January, and Taker returned the favor in February. Thus, we have an issue to settle. It's funny. You look at this Diesel, who definitely has his working boots on tonight. I think these two had okay chemistry. If you go further down when Nash gets to WCW, where I still think, and I'll say this again, I think he's the most overrated pro wrestler of all time. I think he's never drew a dime. He can't work. But he did always decide to show up to work and put his working boots on against bigger guys. Like he had some good ones against Paul White. I mean, even though he broke his neck almost. He had some okay matches with Goldberg. But still, it's funny how the independent wrestling magazines, the dirt sheets, would often do big, like, who would win if WCW guys wrestled WWF guys articles. And it was, this was always a match that they would list. Even though by this time we'd already seen it. Diesel was eventually able to take her to the floor, spine first into a ring post. They were gradually, humanizing Undertaker at this point, dude, 1996, meaning like he probably got the edict, like, go ahead, sell more, show more emotion, which works well when you need him to sell someone like Diesel as an opposing physical threat. I thought Diesel showed some pretty good heel charisma working over Taker here. But still, we get to the end of this one. Undertaker gets the win after a tombstone. You know what? I'm going to say this. I think this was the third best match in Kevin Nash's career. What says you?
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is one of the probably the first time that we get to see Undertaker actually be able to do more than just the normal shtick.
Right. Agreed.
Because he's actually facing somebody his size.
Yeah.
Like you said, like they humanize him. He gets to open up a little bit more of his moveset and do a little more because he has someone who he can actually match up with. And like Diesel, you said, like he works well when he's with the big guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if he's facing Rey Mysterio, he ain't trying.
I know.
Taker would.
Taker. Oh yeah. Yeah. Taker would love to go at it with those cruiserweights, I'm sure. American Badass Undertaker versus some of those cruiserweights. Oh, give me that anytime. This was a good outing to me. As they had solid chemistry together, I thought. It gave Undertaker a battling win without making Diesel look weak in the process. He had plenty of offense, obviously, before losing. I like how when Undertaker had Diesel on the ropes, he went straight to the finish with the tombstone as well. It showed that he had, his eyes on that prize more than the cocky heel Diesel, and that's why he ultimately prevailed. So I thought it was just really good back and forth. Just really good wrestling between two big men, because we would see the year prior at WrestleMania 11, was it Sid and Undertaker? Zero chemistry with Sid.
Sid and Undertaker are going to be the next
13. I'm sorry, 13.
Yeah.
Next year we'll see. I mean, Sid doesn't belong anywhere near the Undertaker. So kudos to Diesel for this one. Goldust and Roddy Piper show back up at the arena so they can finish whatever it is they got going on. With them fighting down to the ring, Goldust works a bit of heat here on Piper. Piper eventually fights back, strips Goldust down to his sexy underwear before sending him packing for the moral victory. The crowd seems to accept this and they'll just move on. But, the reactions to Piper were probably some of the biggest pops of the night, which I feel like maybe that the crowd just came here for this and maybe the main event. I know some like the show long storyline they did with this match, but personally, I think some of it was just more of a distraction, especially during Austin and Vega. It took away a little bit of some of the show, but the actual brawling from both were so good, I thought. So it had a lot going for it. I just wanted a little less interruptions during my actual WrestleMania matches. Overall, what was your thoughts of it?
I mean, it was entertaining. And I love crazy blue jeans Piper running around trying to hit somebody with a fucking cinder block. It's just, and the blood on the door handle and the side of the Bronco was a nice subtle touch, Vince.
Yes.
Nice. Good. Hope you're proud of that shit.
Yeah, I hope you're proud of that. And all right, here we go. The reason we're all here. The main event, 60-minute Iron Man match for the WWF title. The incumbent champion here, Bret the Hitman Hart versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Man, I could probably go on for a while about this match. I'm not going to go too long. Obviously, we're already approaching an hour here. Obviously, we all know, to be honest, I think the most memorable thing about this match, if you fast forward almost 30 years, is the entrance from HBK. Coming down from the rafters, with just an awesome shot of him coming down from the top of that arena. I thought Bret had an awesome Bret entrance. I love a Bret Hart entrance. And I was talking to George about this. Let's kind of fast forward to the end. We all know what happens. The Heartbreak Kid wins in overtime in a sudden death rules after just about 62 and a half minutes, I think it was. Shawn Michaels hits a super kick and gets the clean 1-2, the slowest 3 count in the history of WWF. He gets the win. He tells Bret to get the fuck out of his ring. And then we don't see Bret for like 6 months. But I'll tell you what, George, I called you and talked about this, and I know people might feel shocked. For any obviously who know me, one of the few things people might know about me for all these years is my infatuation and markism for the Heartbreak Kid. I can, off the top of my head, I can honestly probably name people 15 Shawn Michaels matches that were better than this one. And it's taken me almost 30 years to actually realize it. But I sat down at like 10 o'clock at night in my living room downstairs. I watched this match with the sound on, with a drink in my hand. I think I had a cup of coffee in my hand to get through this hour or so. And I just, at the end of it, and I've probably watched this match 100 times. I'm not even joking either. I said to myself at the end, that was probably the most boring Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart match I've ever watched. What says you, George?
It's, if you ask people what their favorite WrestleMania match of all time is, and they say this, then I'm inclined to believe that they're just going with the popular choice.
Yeah.
Or if you ask them what their favorite Shawn Michaels matches or Bret Hart match, they're going to go with this. And because it's a popular choice because they don't know a lot of their work. So like, well, the Iron Man match was great. But when you watch it, you're like, this is not nearly as great as the revisionist history is making it seem to be.
Yeah. And you and I spoke about this. I felt when you have two baby faces like this, two of the best in-ring workers ever. I mean, literally, you could argue this is 1A, 1B of the two of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. If someone tells me it's Shawn, I'll always say I agree, I believe you. If someone says to me it's Bret, I would say I still think Shawn's better, but I can understand you saying Bret. If this match would have had at least one or two falls each, I think we're thinking much differently about this match. Right.
I mean, for the fact that it basically went an hour where nothing happened and then had to go to sudden death. Imagine being in the audience, in that crowd.
Yeah.
And you just watch that for an hour with nothing happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
because I look at it this way.
You'd feel a little cheated.
Yeah, because here's how I look at it. And you and I talked about this, but this is what I wrote down after watching this match last week. And so before I had the conversation with you, the big issue to me with this particular match is that Shawn and Bret wanted to do an hour Broadway. Pat Patterson, same thing, had the idea of doing an Iron Man match, but in an hour. I don't think the story was that Patterson wanted them to do an Iron Man. He just said, let's have them go an hour. But the WWF decided to promote the match as an Iron Man stipulation, even though they had no intention of either man, have a fall during the actual Iron Man portion. Thus, to me, the reason why the crowd was dead most of the time is that this crowd and myself, we're all geared up to see some falls take place, but then it gets progressively more boring, and then I get more annoyed when we don't get them. And the fans, you can watch the show and can tell the fans are just sitting on their hands more than half the time. It also kind of telegraphs the draw. The crowd's constantly being aware of the time remaining, whereas like a normal Broadway would be less likely to have that issue. So to me, George, if you just book this as a regular main event match for the title, you could go an hour and the crowd's into it from the start to finish.
Yeah.
And my case in point is, I know we're fast forwarding 9 years later on Monday Night Raw in England. John Cena and Shawn Michaels went an hour on Monday Night Raw, and the crowd did not sit down for the entire match because it's not booked as an Iron Man match.
Yeah.
Have the two best wrestlers in the world just go an hour.
Well, here's a prime example just to compare the two. So look at this Iron Man match that happened at WrestleMania 12, and then go look at Judgment Day 2000 between The Rock and Triple H. Because those falls were going back and forth, there was more like invested in the match. Like you wanted to see how this was going to end. With Bret and Shawn, you're just like, is somebody going to do something?
Yeah. I agree. One thing I'd never actually, really paid attention to until at my age now, I just catch on to certain things that I never did before in wrestling. Did you realize how loud that ring was mic'd up?
It did seem louder than normal.
But
I thought maybe I just had like the TV up or something.
Yeah, if you go back, you'll hear like an arm drag would like set the you heard it to the top of the arena. I actually did like the dynamic though of speed with Michaels versus the technical wrestling ability in the beginning here through almost the middle. I tend to prefer matches between these two when there's a clear heel and babyface, which is probably why I love before the screw job occurs. That Survivor Series match between Brett and Sean before the screw job finish was building up to be great, like really, really good, because there's just so much heat, and Sean working as a heel with his ability is awesome. We got we get some more technically proficient wrestling later on in the match. Sean's actually getting, the better of things. Now he's the one that's technically sound. Again, we're not getting any falls. You could see the timer of the match and you can realize we're done to 15 minutes, 12 minutes, 10 minutes. And you're probably internally thinking, oh, there's no way we're going to see a fall here. We're probably going to ride this sucker out. And it was what it was, man. We get to the end here over 60 minutes. I just feel like, we get the winner and new champion, which is great for me in my 11-year-old world. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, realizes his boyhood dream, gets a super kick in sudden death overtime. But man, I just felt like watching this match now for the 101st time, this was just the wrong stipulation for these two studs, these two horses to work in front of the wrong crowd, for them to work in front of at the wrong show. The crowd wanted to see an Iron Man match that was booked with falls and excitement, where Sean and Brett want to do a classic 1-hour Broadway. And thus the crowd was ultimately completely deflated by what they got, as it wasn't what they signed up for. Looking back at it now, it wouldn't have been something I signed up for. The actual wrestling was very, very good for the most part. I just felt like I think the fans and us now kind of got shafted with how that match went. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because it's it's on everyone's list. So when you go back to watch it, it's already hyped up in your head because you're reading everyone else's reviews. You're like, oh, maybe this is good, and then you go in and you're by the time you get to the end of it, you're like, I kind of felt cheated.
Yeah, I agree with you. Personally, I would have had, if you really, really wanted to build Sean as that underdog that you've been building now for at least since he came back from the pseudo concussion, have Brett take like a 2-0 lead with 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Have Sean build his way back up, catch him with a super kick, to get it 2-1, then maybe shock him with a sunset flip roll up and tie it up with like 3 minutes left. You know what I mean? Like, give us something to go ooh and ah, like to really get things moving here. I just, you talk about Triple H and The Rock at Judgment Day. They not only work it well, but they also had interesting ways to decide falls, such as Triple H getting himself intentionally disqualified so that he could weaken The Rock and then, pick him off with 2 easy falls. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm so upset that 30 years later, I don't know if I'll ever watch this match again.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sad realization.
It really is. Like all these years, I'm like, yeah, this is one of the greatest matches of all time. If somebody says it's overrated, you don't know shit. But, I go and watch this, I go, I didn't know shit. Now that I've watched wrestling for so many years and I've seen good Iron Man matches, I just think to myself, damn, give me a pen and paper. I'll write you down 10 Brett matches. I'll write you down 30 HBK matches that were better than this. But look, if I'm in NXT and I want to show aspiring workers how to work a long match, I'm probably putting this one on. I'm still going to let them, show them wrestling. And that was what this match is really good for. But damn, George, I was depressed at the end of this. I'm thinking, wow, I think I just might have close the curtains on ever watching the Iron Man match again.
Yeah, it's sad.
I know.
It's kind of like how you always see those like the memes that we'll see, like the nostalgia ones where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, at one point in time, like you rode your bike for the last time and never knew it. Like now it's like I've watched this match for the last time, but now I know it's the last time.
Yeah, I know. Man, but it's whatever. But reviewing, to conclude this, my thoughts on the show. I I think whether you'll enjoy this show depends on how much you like the Iron Man match. Being completely honest,
Mhm.
there's nothing on the undercard that is actually actively bad. And the semi-main with Taker and Diesel was very good. So if you love the Iron Man match, then this show is an easy thumbs up to me. But if you're not high on the Iron Man match, like I'm not and George is not, then this is closer than probably a thumbs in the middle. It's certainly not a stinker at all or anything. Shawn Michaels winning the title it's such an iconic moment. But I obviously, now George and I do think that the match is a bit overrated. I could happily probably go on to the rest of my life not watching it again. I think a special mention needs to go to the Anaheim crowd. They were, atrocious all night, except for the opener. They, even WrestleMania 2000 is an awful, awful show. Because not an awful show, but from an audience standpoint, they were horrible. But I'm stunned that after '96, the Anaheim got another WrestleMania. But overall, the show to me, I don't think I would recommend the show to anyone unless somebody comes up to me and says, I've heard about the Michaels and Brett Iron Man match. If you've never watched it, then sure, I will recommend WrestleMania 12 so you can at least say that you watched Brett versus Shawn for an hour, Shawn winning the world title for the first time, catapulting us into a completely new era of the WWF. But if I'm talking to another wrestling fan like you, George, or Dean, or somebody else that I know, I don't think I would recommend WrestleMania 12. I would just you can skip it. If the Iron Man match doesn't mean anything to you, then I would just tell them probably you could probably skip it. What says you?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, there's really nothing of note to watch, like with this preview, unless you want to watch the Iron Man match.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I'm actually shocked considering how with the Hall of Fame this year, they're putting matches into the Hall of Fame, and they put in the Austin Brett match from WrestleMania 13, which obviously deserving.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't put this match instead, so that way Brett and Shawn would have equal number of Hall of Fame inductions.
Oh, that would have been great. I would have loved for them to induct Goldberg versus Brett when Goldberg kicked his head off so that Brett would have to share the stage with Goldberg. I'm just kidding, Brett. You're the man. And Goldberg, you're a piece of shit, Bill Goldberg. Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, if you're going to have this award for the first time, I don't think this is the match to do it. But I think because Hogan is such a pile of trash, you can't do Hogan and Andre because Andre obviously has been dead forever. And then you have Hogan, who the last thing WWE wants is him behind a microphone talking in front of a live crowd. So I think your safest bet is to do Brett and Austin because you get Austin there. So that's a positive. And look, if somebody's asking me right now, the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, that's my number 2. I mean, I still think the greatest pro wrestling match of all time ever is Shawn versus Taker at WrestleMania 25. And then I'm going Brett and Austin at 13. Hands down, they're my top 2 ever. And then my third, which probably would shock people, if you watch this match on mute, I'd say it sucks. But the fact of the matter is it didn't take place on mute, would be Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18. I mean, you want to see the personification of pro wrestling in a vacuum, then you want to watch Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania. That's what pro wrestling is all about, is that match and what happened there. But yeah, I'm really excited for them to induct matches. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward with that. I would hope next year that they would do maybe TLC, one of the TLC matches, because I would love for them in one room while they're all still alive. The Dudleys, Hardys, and Edge and Christian. I would love to see that. What a reunion that would be. Because it should happen this year, but it's 25th anniversary of, I think, the first one, right? SummerSlam will be 25 years, right?
Yeah.
So, oh my God, 25 years since TLC won.
No. 25 is the TLC one.
Yeah. So that'd be really cool. But yeah, but nonetheless, yeah, I'd still give the show a thumbs up. What about you? Because I don't think it was bad.
It's an entertaining show.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, everybody who tuned in. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, ring the bell for notifications when we're going to be on again. Of course, we're going to be back next week with full coverage of the Monday Night Wars. Raw versus Nitro is back next week. And if I'm looking at the ratings for next week's shows, Nitro comes back and beats Raw 3.2 to 2.9. Looking forward to seeing how Nitro garnered a 3.2. Just crazy. All right. So thank you very much, George. I know that the Multiverse Movie Podcast has been busy. What do you guys got coming up?
We have coming up. We made an alteration, or as we say, an audible. We call it an audible. Initially on the docket for this week was going to be Inglorious Bastards. But due to the recent tragic events of the passing of Val Kilmer, we have decided to do a Val Kilmer movie instead, one that we haven't already done. We've already done Top Gun, Tombstone, and Batman Forever, so we just had to find another one, which we did. We're going to do Willow from 88. Yeah,
oh, awesome.
Yeah, from 88. So, I mean, it's a true definition of a cult classic. That's it. I mean, it made money at the box office, but it's a lot of people's underground, low key favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. Such a good one. You could get this on Disney Plus too, which is great. It did really well at the box office. $35 million budget, $140 million at the box office.
I think they were expecting a bigger return.
Oh, I mean, that's not bad at all, I think. But yeah, I'm excited to
I mean, it's directed by Ron Howard, story by George Lucas.
Yeah. I mean, spectacular. All right, looking forward to that. Again, that's the Multiverse Movie Podcast. You can find that anywhere you guys listen to podcasts, and do it strictly just to support George. Support our guy, George. Who cares about the other guy? So yeah, but here we are at the end. Rest in power, Val Kilmer. Just what an icon. What an incredible actor. Died way too young, 65 years old, from pneumonia, correct?
Yeah, and he had just beaten throat cancer.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
so sad. So yeah, thank you for everything that Mr. Kilmer provided for us on the big screen. Thank you also for being the most underrated Batman of all time. Maybe now people start going back and watching that movie and realizing just how damn great he was. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody who watched the show. We'll be back next week with Monday Night Wars, Raw versus Nitro. So for George Rogers, I'm Christy Francesco, and we'll catch you guys down the road. Have a great rest of your weekend and next week. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.